Teaching dogs to look to humans, teaching humans how to lead. Welcome to T's Doghouse. Hi, Tommy Smithy here. Welcome back to T's Doghouse. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about the leashes that we use in our training program, also the leashes that are available on our website, tsdoghouse.com. So the first leash I'm going to talk about is a 10-foot snap lead. This is a traditional type of leash, snaps to a collar. We like 10 feet because the dog understands and learns more clearly, I think, about staying close to you and keeping the leash loose if it can recognize when it's far away from you. So we find that the 10-foot lead works much better in teaching a dog to walk on a loose leash than a 6-foot lead or a 4-foot lead. We also have our 10-foot slip lead, and this leash has a keeper here to keep it from opening up too much around the dog's neck. It's a pretty stiff rope, so it does spring back open and falls loose around the dog's neck very easily. So that keeper keeps it from opening up too much where the dog might just walk out of it or have it fall off when it put its head down. So that's why we have the keeper. The leash again is 10 feet long, so the dog has that relation or that reference of how far it is from you, so it can learn how to keep the leash loose. The other thing about all of our leashes is they're made out of a very small diameter, stiff, tightly woven rope. This is a rope that is uncomfortable on your hand. If you have your hand in here and your dog is pulling really hard, this is an uncomfortable leash. If you're holding the leash like this and your dog's pulling really hard, it's a difficult leash to hold on to. That's why we like it to be a small diameter, is it helps us understand what's going on the other end. If the dog is on the leash and he's pulling hard enough to make it uncomfortable on you, I guarantee it's also uncomfortable on him. That is an alert to let us know that we need to do some work so that we can communicate with the dog and the dog can understand how to relieve that uncomfortable feeling it feels when it's pulling and have a nice pleasant walk as you have a nice pleasant walk. So the small diameter is to alert us to when we need to do a little bit more work. We're not getting our job done as the leader and our dog's uncomfortable and so are we. So I like these diameters way better than the big, thick, soft, plush ones that allow us to be more comfortable than the dog that's on the end of the leash. I'm going to show you a second real quick also why we like this slip lead. So this lead, it's a go-to. We use it all the time. We love this lead. It's for a standard collar. This is a 1-inch collar that we use on all our medium and large dogs. When we hook the leash up, there's something that I think that we need to realize about how leashes work, because I think this is misunderstood and it's not fair to the dogs. So if you're familiar with our program, then you know what the pressure continuum is. If you're not, then just understand that we're talking about pressure that increases from 0 on up, right? Understanding that pressure can continue to increase, and a dog uses that to make their decisions. So with this leash, we've got the snap on there that swings freely, and when the leash starts to come tight, there is a lot of motion that equals 0 communication, right? The dog is feeling nothing through all that motion until it comes tighter. And now the dog's starting to feel something. That's a small window of communication that is happening from this point to this point. And then once it's drawn tight, then the dog can pull harder, but it's not necessarily going to be more uncomfortable to pull harder, right? It's going to stay at that level. So what we end up with is a very small window of communication that we can use here. It's great at the beginning of training, and it's great on a dog that's really, really good on a leash. But sometimes in the middle, when we're trying to help a dog really become light on a leash, then it's very beneficial to go to the slip lead. Now the slip lead is not a lead that I would go to until my dog understands well how to come back away from the pressure of a leash to relieve pressure. They need to understand that concept, that returning into me always stops the pressure from pulling on their neck, right? And I need to be good enough with the leash that I'm communicating that with them, that I'm not maintaining pressure while the dog's coming back. So once I'm good on a leash and my dog understands how a leash works and how the pressure works, then I'm gonna go to a slip lead, because this allows me to be much lighter, and I'll show you why. So this leash, obviously, when you move, it'll go tight, and the harder the dog pulls, the tighter it's gonna get, right? But you gotta realize on the other end, you're gonna become very uncomfortable also. So the beauty of this leash is that unlike the collar and snap lead, this leash begins communicating immediately. Can you see that? As soon as the slack starts coming out of this rope, the dog is feeling communication. Long before that ever comes tight on the dog's neck, the dog knows what's being communicated. And it knows that if it comes back towards you, that it's gonna avoid all pressure. So when you watch our videos, when a dog is on a slip lead, this is what you see most all the time. And hardly ever would you see this. Right? So we use this leash when we want a dog to be able to really feel light communication. Okay, so those are the two types of leashes we have. Our other two leashes are variations of those leashes. So we have the 6-foot drag lead. This lead we love in the house. It's short, it doesn't get tangled on things, and it gives us a handle when we're working with a dog early on and we need to be able to get a hold of the leash to help guide the dog to the things that we want it to do, or stop it from doing something it's not supposed to do. The short length keeps it from getting tangled up. Great little training tool for in the house when we are with the dog. Our fourth leash is our 6-foot slip lead. And this is a lead that we use on dogs that are well along in their training, right? Because this leash is going to be used for a dog that is maintaining the heeling position, staying right at our side, very close to us. It's a leash that I use a lot when I jog, running with the dog. I'd also use it when I might take a dog with me to the store, something like that, where I don't want so much length to have to manage. But again, this is a leash for a dog that understands its positions, so that it's just next to you. The leash is there as a safety precaution, hanging loosely on the dog's neck. So we love that one. We call it our jogging lead, I think, or our running lead. It's a great thing. It also can fit easily into a backpack if I'm going to use it for a little bit and get to a place that I can let the dog be off lead. Anyway, it's a great lead also. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.